So what's up, Jhan? Haven't spoke to
Not
you
much.
on the internets for a while.
The old interwebs.
Yeah, dude.
It's been a while. I miss
Yeah,
you.
we haven't done a John from across the pond episode for a while. Have you just?
I miss you, man.
Yeah, well, I thought it would be a good idea just to record this. Basically, basically just us ranting on about Reach, because Reach is gonna come to the Chief Collection fairly soon, and I thought it'd be nice for us to just talk about those Reach days of the Xbox 360, because that's more or less when we met, isn't it?
Some good old days. Back in the old days.
Yeah, are you going for it? Whoa, you can do this. That's it. That's good stuff.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Just this bitch over here.
Also, I want to say, don't worry about swearing and cursing or whatever this time around, because I could give a fuck, in all honesty.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Just want to get all my laundry out of the way.
This is 100% staying in, dude. You know that,
Get the
don't you?
fuck out of here. You will edit the shit out of this. This laundry. You can put it in the bloopers.
I'll compromise with you, dude. We'll do like half and half.
Yeah.
If you move center of screen, you can't see it. It's fine.
Oh, no, I know that. That's why I put it on that side.
That's amazing. So when we met, obviously, it was like the tail end of the Halo 3 days, and ODST had just come out.
Yeah, actually. ODST had just come out.
Can you remember, like, I mean, I got reminded of it on a video the other day I was watching that was all about that thing, that whole, the original trilogy and everything. And no, actually, it was a Bungie documentary. It was like a full-on Bungie documentary about everything that they'd done from like when they were kids in college all the way up to like Destiny 2. And they were contractually obligated to give them 2 more games before they could leave and be independent and do Destiny and all that. So like
Uh-huh.
ODST was like a half-assed sort of quickly throw it out and make it a game idea. And
Yeah, but it was a huge hit.
I was going to say, yeah, and I don't remember personally that whole controversy about people complaining that it cost too much at the time for what was essentially like an add-on game or something, and I didn't get that.
To me, that was it was a whole game. You know, it was its own experience, really, in and of itself. Because all of Halo, you were this indomitable hero. You know, you had this moon jump and the overshield, and
Moon
it's
jump.
just like
Yeah, man.
it's just insane, you know, to be able to play as the Master Chief. And I thought it was really polarizing um, to go off on a new adventure where now you're on Marine.
Yeah.
Uh, and you're so vulnerable compared to Master Chief. And yet you have to, you know, take on uh, the same challenge,
Same
fighting the
same
Covenant.
enemies essentially, isn't
Yeah,
it? You know.
fighting the Covenant, trying to make your way across the board and reach your goal, but you had to find an entirely new way to play this game now. And I think as a Halo player, um, you really start to step back and say, "Wow, man, the difference between everybody else and the Master Chief is just outrageous. And like, just imagine trying to play the first three games as a Marine.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, that's a good
that's a
point.
whole
Yeah,
nother idea. They could have done that too.
Y-
Um, but
yeah, yeah,
it's pretty cool though, you know. Just it's a whole nother game. ODST is an entirely different experience, and it brings a perspective to the Halo world that I think um, we should all be grateful for. That developers and studios are going uh, at their love child. You know, they're going at their projects in different ways, and they try to give you a new flavor of the same stuff. You know, and I think that that's going to be really important for video games in a space where now we have genres that are melting together and mixing together just because games are just getting different and in general
yeah,
we're eventually going to get to a place where oh well, these games are obviously uh, more popular than these games, so that's why we have like a lot of SPS, and it's where we get Halo. Halo uh, had to be on the scene. FPS is starting to get big, so
yeah,
it had to make the scene, but it was a really nice way to approach it with the sci-fi, and I think that ODST was the next level, changing that so that you can really truly. That's when I really started to feel so much more story between Halo 3 and ODST. It was just so good.
yeah. I mean that's a big one as well as the change up, like just the atmosphere itself, like the music
Hmm.
changed.
Hmm.
The way you played the game, it took me. I remember it took me like a minute to figure out that it was a hub world type of game
Right.
because I'd seen like the odd, little trailer piece or anything, but I'd not read anything or seen anything significant that like told me what the gameplay was. So when I first turned it on, literally it took me like the first hour of playing it to figure out, what the hell am I doing here? Why am I just avoiding stuff?
Walking
And
around. Right. Right.
and that's the other thing was like you could in the hub world part of the game, like the Mombasa streets, you had the choice. You could completely avoid the enemy. If you were stealthy enough, you could just slip by them and completely ignore them. There was even achievements, wasn't there, to like avoid killing those floating shield
Right. The
generator
engineers.
engineers. That's the one. Thank you. Yeah, see, that's why I love you, Jhan. And and yeah, they like you could. That was like the hardest achievement. That was just the hardest achievement, and I did it on legendary because I'm an idiot as well. I was like, yeah, I played through it first on heroic, and I just killed them all. You get one for killing 10 or something like that, don't you? And
Yeah,
then
yeah, you do. Yeah.
you get one for not. So I killed them first time
Eliminating.
through,
Yeah.
and then went on to legendary and thought, oh, I'll just try not to do. I'll try and do that one, and it was hell.
Yeah.
But I managed it.
Well, it's so unfair when your opponents have overshields and you don't,
Yeah.
So
Well, that thing even gave grunts and jackals overshields. Like jackals
yeah.
need overshields, man. You know. But then, yeah, that was a problem for some people. I found. Like, I mean, obviously, like I say, it started out as a problem for me when I was trying to figure it out. But then, people
Right.
just kicked against it straight away because they changed the way that the game plays compared to every other title at that time. And like
I
no other
think
first-person shooter was really doing that hub world type thing, as far as I can remember. Unless I'm wrong, I'm sure there's people out there that'll tell me I'm wrong. But I don't remember playing a game that had that hub world type environment. And then it just changed the way, like a lot of games decided to take that up. And then you
right.
skip into, like, was it a year between that and Reach? Between ODST and Reach? Was it a year or was it? I can't remember.
Was it a year? I think it was a year. It had to have been a year actually, right?
I think
Oh
so,
man.
yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was the following. It was the following year of because Halo 3 was 2008. ODST was 9, and Reach was 10. Am I right there? I don't know.
So ODS2 was 2009, and let's see.
Shit. I feel like I should have said, Jamie, pull that up. I don't have a Jamie. So you can be Jamie and John today.
Oh, how wonderful! 2 jobs.
Now
Yep,
I'll do some
2010 for
looking up.
Reach.
I'll do some looking up myself as well. Take some of the
They
slack.
were 1 year apart.
Right, yeah. And I think it's because they had a different team working on Reach, obviously, and it was on a completely different game engine. That's something I didn't realise until I watched this documentary the other night, that they had the Blam engine, which ran the first 3 games, including ODST as well, so first 4 games was all on this one engine, and they kept modifying it to make the graphics better and for them to,
Add more textures and stuff like that. Right, right.
yeah, and change the gameplay mechanics, like having, you had equipment in Halo 3, and
Right.
the dual wielding of Halo 2 and partially 3, things
Adjusting
like
the
that.
physics.
Yeah, changing up how it played, and then they went in completely fresh with the Reach engine, and I forget what the engine was called, but it's a totally different game engine to the rest of it. Yet they still managed to make it feel like a Halo
Like
game.
Halo. Yep, yep.
That's it. And that's the other thing, is like, how do you describe what a Halo game is? Because we're sat here going, yeah, it feels like Halo, it's atmosphere, this, that, and the other. And for people
Right.
watching that don't really play it as deeply as we do, because, I mean,
Well,
Halo 4, it was a good effort at story, but it didn't feel like a Halo game. And then Halo 5 really didn't feel like a Halo game. But then what do you define a Halo game,
so you actually had touched on it a little when you said atmosphere. I really do think that Halo games have like this ambiance, this odd wonder to them. Um, Halo 1, when you first land on a Halo,
Yeah.
and you just look,
That's the go-to explanation, isn't it? When you get out that drop ship and you look up
and you
on that.
see the ring.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
And
yeah.
it's like, wow, man, this is weird. It's so strange. And games didn't look like that back then anyway.
No, not at
So
all.
that was different in and of itself. But
And that, yeah,
when you really, sorry to cut you, but when you
no,
really
go for
think
it. Go
about
for it.
your experience playing the first couple of games, especially like the first 2 games, you get a real sense of that kind of Metroid Prime kind of feel, where you're on a new planet,
Yeah.
and you're just alone, and
See,
you have Cortana with you, and you feel that presence, and it's just all it's kind of got this wonder and this mystery to it. So when you play Halo Reach, you coming from the most recent game, Halo ODST, I thought had this mysterious dark feel to it, and that impending doom feeling. And
yeah,
Halo Reach really did kind of capitalize on it. They hit the nail on the head and that's what I think Halo really is. It's an impending doom type thing, because
yeah,
you say to
yeah,
yourself, "Man, I'm this one guy, and I'm supposed to save everything." And it's like a really daunting thing when you think about it. And that's what Halo always used to deliver, time and time again, was that daunting, sheesh, I gotta take care of this shit, and I'm gonna do it. It's gonna
yeah,
be because I'm the Master Chief,
yeah.
and it's
Well, that's
for
the thing. You get
yeah,
with the first couple of games, especially the first game, you got like a sense of wonderment and adventure, and like you're discovering things, and you're on this fucking brand new world for the first time ever, and you're on a ring that was built by something, and it's amazing. Then the second
yeah,
one, you've got the add-in of all that extra story, and there's like context behind why you were there in that first one, and and you've got like a mission for the second one, which then carries on through into the third one. And then, like you said, we've got Cortana in your ear the whole time.
Right.
Well, for the majority of it, you know. And then
Yeah.
after that, ODST. And I think the other thing that players weren't used to at the time, for ODST in particular, is that's the first time you actually genuinely felt completely alone.
Alone. Yep.
Because it was dark, it was atmospheric. You didn't have an
Cortana
you
and
didn't have a
AI.
voice in your head. That's it. You might have had the odd order come through when you're in the actual campaign missions. You've got people, and it's like a traditional Halo game. But when you're in those hub world bits,
Right.
that's it. You're on your own completely. Even when you're playing with friends, you still have that sort of isolation feel. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, for sure.
And then Reach was a completely different feel again. I
Yeah.
thought, because you had that sense of, like, for a lot of the missions you had the other members of the Noble team with you,
Right.
but then you did fit, you were clearly like the new guy, so you had that sort of lone element as well. But you had a really basic AI. You had the dot AI that a lot of people forget about, that every now and again would just, you know, give you a direction to go in, or just say, you know, the enemy is blah blah blah, and you know, just come up with stuff, mostly in cutscenes. But you had like voices in your head, but you still felt isolated, and they sort of blended the feel of like Halo 3 with
Right.
ODST in my
And
in my
then
mind.
and then it just got really different. And this is where I think ODST is stronger than all of the other Halo games. Is that
Right.
the story the story beats began to pick up, and um, your rookie's team started to dwindle, and eventually you were all alone. And they really just hit that note perfectly.
Yeah.
Um, Once you were alone at the end, you felt that overwhelming presence of the enemy, and it was just it was a really good idea for the story. Um, Gave a great explanation as to what happened to the
Yeah.
rest of the Spartans, and it just really spoke to so many levels of what it takes to be a Spartan, and still, you're not adequate enough to survive this whole fight,
Yeah.
this entire war. Uh, and
Yeah.
then it just really adds another layer of perspective. The way ODST added perspective to the whole Halo story, Halo Reach added more perspective to the Halo story, and I think that's what was so good about Bungie, is that they were great at layering and adding on more complexities, yet being able to tie all the loose ends together, and bring together a cohesive story that made sense, and that had not just made sense, but also giving you a sense of satisfaction. Oh, I completed this game,
Yeah.
or I completed this mission, or I cannot wait until to move on to the next mission. But once you got to the end of the game, you said, "Oh wow, that was such a great experience," and I think that was what really, really cemented a lot of our stock in Halo, was
Yeah.
that we would have these experiences, together, you and I, and Staravia and Wainster and
Mighty
Bry,
Majofa. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's like we would have all these great experiences, but accomplishing something never felt so satisfactory. So like never brought as much satisfaction as accomplishing something in a Halo game. I mean, it used to just
Yeah.
be like, look at what we did, or look at what we finished, and
That's the
it's
thing.
it's
Like,
a hopeful feeling. Yeah.
while you were talking, I've just sort of realised that the way we're both talking about this is that, like, it's a reality. You know, like we lived through actual events, and I don't hear people talking about any other game like that. Apart from maybe like some really intense MMOs or something, you know, like a World of Warcraft type scenario game
Right.
where you invest a shitload of hours, but you didn't. There was no other first-person shooter where you invested that much time and energy, and you'd make it like it would feel. You got really invested, like really
Right.
invested in the story, and I think that's why a lot of people had complaints about Reach in particular. Is that that was the downer, you know, because you were playing towards the end of something. And even though it was a prequel, and we all know that Reach falls, kind of thing, you know, that was the idea. That you was just supposed to be there for the experience, and I think a lot of people don't like downers. Everybody's got so used to like happy ending, probably in particular for like movies and shit.
Well,
Um,
that's a real ending. That is
yeah,
a like that is a that's a really good video game ending. Um, Halo Reach for me ranks high up there on all-time favorite video games.
yeah,
Uh, First of all, it was just a good gameplay game.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
it just felt good. The shooting was class.
Yeah,
Get a DMR in my hands, man, and it was
yeah.
just clockwork.
That's the
The
thing. I wanted to talk about the weapons as well. You've just reminded me. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
uh-huh, uh-huh.
you had the battle rifle in 3, and you could find it in various points of ODST, obviously. And there was the
Yes.
carbine and other sort of mid-range precision guns in that
Uh-huh,
game.
uh-huh.
And then they completely switched it up. They changed the look of the assault rifle, and they gave you a DMR instead of the assault rifle. You know, the other one,
The battle
the
rifle.
battle rifle. Thank you again. That's why I love you. What's the? What did you think? Like, because they're your babies. You know, the mid range, like precision guns are the ones you always
Precision
go
weapon,
for.
yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean,
So,
I do as well, but I have got a lot more of a run and gun style of playing that game where, like, you know, I'll unload an assault rifle and punch you in the head. That's, you know, that's what I do. But I've gravitated towards more precision weapons recently, and I was wondering what you thought of like that change up. Did that, especially at the time, because people were upset, man. The battle rifle was like hailed as the
yeah,
baby of, you
the
know, it
the
was their
best weapon in the
babies.
game.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it was like Halo 2 onward. You had it
hmm
in every game, you know, and then for them to just take that away and swap it for another one, people went insane at the
So,
time.
um, well, I really like what they did with the weapons in this game. Let's start with. I know, we're talking about like mid-range, um, the mid-range precision weapons, but
No,
let's
go
start
ahead,
off with just all the
take all of
precision
them. Yeah,
weapons.
take them all on. Yeah.
So starting with the Magnum,
Mm,
Halo has had its love affair with the Magnum since Halo One.
yeah.
You know, it's just such a great gun. And then um, to bring back classic Halo One Magnum into Reach, it
It
was
was
just
definitely
perfect.
the
Yeah.
closest to the original, wasn't it?
hmm It was great. So um, I liked it just because it just made sense story wise. You know, they brought the Halo One Magnum back. Obviously, there was no DMR in Halo One,
Mm,
or Combat Evolved Halo CE, but they brought the DMR in, and it just made sense to go from like a DMR to a battle rifle. You know,
yeah.
you've got this slow and strong mid to long range weapon that you can really, excuse me, you can see that progression. and evolve it into becoming a battle rifle. Becoming a little more compact, firing faster, uh, in bursts too. So it just made a little sense there story wise. The DMR was super cool. I think honestly, personally, I like the DMR a tiny bit better than the battle rifle.
Oh,
Although I'm way
sacrilege.
better. I'm way better with the battle rifle than I am with
Right.
the DMR, and that's just like you got more bullets, So
Yeah, yeah,
I'll get like I'll give myself two chances to catch somebody with all three shots on the battle rifle.
yeah,
And like on the first one, I'm gonna make two of them and miss the first one. But then on the second one, I'll just land all three, and then it's over from there.
yeah.
So the battle rifle gives you a couple more options in the way that you're firing at people, but the DMR, it gives you a little more space. You want to get a little further away from your enemy, um, and you want to be a little more vigilant rather than reactive, and just kind of plan your attack. Okay, cool, my enemy's over here. Maybe I should flank from here, or try and create a little buzz on this side, and then push him out into the open and finish him off with the DMR. But it's it gives you just a little more time to think about how you'll finish kills on your enemy, rather than sometimes with the battle rifle, I can get a little faster with my whole gameplay just because of its versatility and the way that I can fire at the
Yeah,
enemy.
yeah.
But the DMR, I think, added another level. The DMR was super strange. Um, I forget the name of the level, but it was like a mall or something. I don't remember
Oh,
what it was.
um,
It had like two ramps going across from one side to the other side, and then there were, you
yeah,
know,
they made a multiplayer map out of the same one.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's the
yeah.
one where you've just had your space battle in the previous level, then you land on Earth, or,
Hmm.
well, on Reach rather, and then you end up with just the pistol for that
Yep.
first section, and then you go in and you've got some like furry jackals to shoot at, the really fast ones, and
Yeah.
then a bunch of suicide grunts. Then you get to like actually you grab a DMR actually, and that's the other
Yep.
one, the needle rifle.
Oh
Now
yeah.
I
The
like the
the
idea of that.
Covenant counterpart, right?
Yeah, yeah. 3 shots and they explode, and it can be anywhere on the body. You could shoot them three times on the wrist, and explode after that. The only trouble was with in the campaign itself, the AI would, if you shot them twice with it, they'd then dive out the way, and you're always like, oh fuck. So, if you ever got yourself in a situation where you knew if you went down there you were going to get your ass kicked,
Right.
you had to stay back and shoot. And if all you had was a needle rifle, it would take you forever to get those elites because they're just so big and fast in reach. And that's the other thing.
They
That was
are.
a really good thing. It made the whole thing a totally different challenge.
The
Was
AI was just on another level,
yeah,
and it shows you how Bungie has taken all of their history, everything that they've come from, and say, well, how do we make this even better? How do we make this even better every single time?
yeah,
Because the enemies definitely were much more difficult every single time they released the game. They were smarter.
yeah,
They had more
yeah,
moves. They had um, they even would go for tactical advantage. Um,
yeah. They'd like
it's just
they'd get into cover.
just good.
They'd counter nearly everything you could come up with.
Yeah, throw grenades back.
Yeah, like I mean, the AI in the Halo games has always been good. It's been documented by much more important people than us, of how good the AI was in most of the games. I think the only gripe I had with Reach over every other game was you couldn't arm up your Spartans. Now, in the previous games, you could spend a bit of time just going around and finding decent guns to give your Marines or ODSTs or
Right.
whatever that were with you, and you just give them
Right.
them, and then you go out into the next place and just
Uh-huh.
decimate the battlefield, because your AI had like good guns, but most of the time your AI in Reach is your noble team, and you can't change their guns. You can't swap guns with those people, but you can with the Marines. But you very rarely have Marines in Reach. And the other
Right.
thing was trying to get them into a warthog was a nightmare. It was, wasn't it? It's like it just took forever. Like I remember just screaming at Cat on like the first or second level, just getting into that warthog and going, just come on, get in. I'm trying. Just let me go. Just get in. And she never did. She
Or
was just
like,
like, oh, he's in the car. I'll just and then just stand out there. Like, I'll give you an example with my Batmobile. I'll be like, no, 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 no.
stands next to it.
Then I'll get in. Yeah, and it was like that amount of time will get you killed in a Halo game. Like, just waiting 3 seconds before you get into a vehicle will get you killed. In the campaign, or in very much more in the multiplayer. Like if you hesitate to do something or you miss it, and you like go to pick up a gun and you just miss it, and you have to turn around and go back.
right.
Yeah, and you have to go around to turn back and get it. You'd get that gun, but there's no way you'd have a chance to use it. You'd get yourself killed.
Yeah, that's why you know I actually like the later iteration of Halo games because they got a little slower than Halo 1 and 3. Um, it was really a much different pace, especially ODST. When you get into that game, you really don't want to rush into anything at all.
Oh no.
Certain missions do call for it, but other than
Yeah,
that, you
yeah.
want to creep along and kind of find the right way.
I
And you
think
want to cut through things undetected and as quickly as possible, but you definitely want to be very tedious and meticulous in the way you move
yeah.
about.
I honestly think the only time that you really rush in ODST is to get away from something. There's a point where you can unlock like a mongoose to run around the city in,
Yeah,
the little quad thing, and you just like that is the only time you start rushing, because if you go fast enough and you don't hit any obstacles, you can just get past the enemies and not actually get hit at all, and that's the only time that you ever rush in that game.
for sure.
And it's I think there's one actual campaign mission where you hop in, get everyone you can into warthogs, and you can actually just sprint through the entire thing without taking too much damage and finish it dead quick. And I've completely forgotten which one it is. It's the open air one where you start on the beach.
Okay.
Is it what's
Is
his
that
name? Dutch? Is it Dutch or
is
Butch?
it Dutch?
I can't remember. Where he's the one that's like, right at the very end, you crash your warthog, and he goes, God did tell me we don't have to do any more flying today, and then it explodes. And he says, Amen. All I know is that's the guy out of Firefly. It's like they rehired the entire cast of Firefly to play the ODSTs. Because good old Nathan Fillion's in it. I was so. Do you know that's what sold me on Halo 5? That I was actually going to buy it and play it, was that Buck was a Spartan in it, and I would be able to play as Buck. And I
Which
was
is
like,
so
awesome,
really
that's amazing.
strange.
I thought that was a brilliant thing, though. I thought, like, oh, amazing, yeah, because that's the idea, is that the new Spartans can be literally anyone. You don't have to be kidnapped at birth to be a Spartan or anything. If you can be a decent soldier and you've got the right mental temperament, you can be a Spartan. That's the idea of the new tech. But
You can
then,
be the next Captain America.
yeah, and then, like, you get in there, and he's literally he's made out of wood. He's a wooden post in that game. And then you go back to ODST, and he's this well-rounded, like serious yet really funny, yet
Right.
like he's a panicky character as well. Like he does a lot of freaking out in that game. Yet he's the leader. Yet he's got composure, and he's got like he's really 3D as a character. And then you get him into Halo 5, and the worst thing, like the most
Just
like
stands there and gets shot.
yeah, and in like the cutscenes and stuff, the most he has to do as a character thing is he goes up to Locke and goes, everyone's gonna hate us, right?
And he's like dense,
Yeah,
which
it's
makes
like
no sense.
yeah, and he's just
Spartans are
this,
smart,
yeah,
all of them.
yeah. That's the thing. You get an intelligence upgrade. That's the whole point, and it's meant for tactical advantage, and that's the idea behind the chief, is that he was like one of the most intelligent applicants anywhere, and then he got upgraded, and that's why you're the dude in the games, because you're super intelligent, super strong, and you've got a super suit on you.
Right.
And then you get to Halo 5. And I remember thinking the first time I played it through on anything above normal difficulty, you get your ass kicked constantly. And it's like, well, where's the progression of technology there? Where's the improvement?
Right.
If you're not even as strong as a previous game. But then again, you play the very few chief missions in that, and all the Spartan 2s are piles of crap as well. They're getting their ass kicked left, right, and centre.
I think co-op AI has just never been anybody's strong suit for some reason.
Yeah. Man, I could rant on about this fucking game forever. I want to put that out there, that I want to say the campaign in particular, I'm going to look the camera right in the eye and say it's possibly one of the worst campaigns that I've ever played in a video game, full stop, not even a Halo game. It is by far the worst campaign in any Halo game. I didn't really enjoy the first time I went through Halo 4, but when you play Halo 5, you go like, oh, Halo 4 was actually really good, wasn't it? Because it was a good game, and like I
didn't really like it too much.
Yeah, go through it again. After playing the hell that when I helped you do Halo 5 and it took like 2 weeks or something. And I was waking up in cold sweats on a night going like, oh god, I've got to play this game again. Oh, I've got to help John get through the game, I can't stand it. Oh no. But anyway, moving on, it made me miss Halo 4. And I went back through and played Halo 4. And the whole story of Cortana slowly degrading and going nuts was like a really nice thing. And the whole point of the chief is he doesn't emote too much because he's you, or he's me, or he's anyone,
Right.
And they managed to make him like an emotional character without making him emote too much. Which is a difficult thing to do, considering they set out to make a chief-centric story where he was going to be more of an emotional character, and I was like, red flag! Red flag! And I was just like thinking like we were going to get like wiping the tears off his visors type things, and I was like, oh no, you can't do that, it's us that should emote, not him, sort of thing, And they managed it. They pulled that off. I thought it was really good. Like, there's a moment where she's telling him that it's basically inevitable that she's about to die. Right. It's only about halfway through the game, so it's not like an ending scene, and he just goes, Cortana. And he just, like, it was the genius of the way they caught Steve Downes saying that word, just the word of Cortana. He goes like, Cortana. And you think, like, it makes you feel like he's saying, look, don't say that, but he's also saying, no, we'll sort this out, but he's also saying, oh god, I don't want to lose you, you know what I mean? But like, also
there's so many there were so many feelings,
it was layered,
yeah,
and it was nuanced, and it was really well done. Like, that's a perfect example of the campaign of Halo 4 being really good. You know what I never did in Halo 4? The multiplayer. Ever.
I don't think I played that either.
I did try it once or twice, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me.
I don't think I ever played it.
No, I think by the time Halo 4 had come out, that was in your disappearing Jhan trick that you did so well.
Yeah.
And
So I came
you,
back and 5 was already out. So
yeah. And, you know, you went off to be a real Spartan, that's what you did. But yeah, getting back, like, if we rewind time, one thing that annoyed me, there's that actually, if we stick on Halo 4 for a second, because it does involve Reach, and I want to go back to Reach, because that's, like, the main reason I wanted to do this video, but there's that thing that the Warthog gun turrets do. You know, they overheat, don't they? And then if you overheat them, you have to wait for them to cool down, and then you can fire again. And then you flip forward like 5 or 10 years. Well, it's more than that, isn't it? Because Reach is obviously it's a prequel, so you go like 10 or 20 years into the future, and suddenly Warthogs in Halo 4 are overheating. What's the fucking deal with that? They've
this
got
doesn't make sense.
no, not at all. You've got the UNSC Infinity, which is like 3 times bigger than any other ship that the human fleet have ever made in recorded human history in the lore of Halo. And it's this giant, expansive, massive ship with full of AI and fucking all sorts of amazing things, and it can tear through a Covenant carrier like it's nothing. But the Warthogs overheat. You know, and it's just a game mechanic that they stole from Reach. And there's no logical reasoning for it to be there. It's just there because it's there. Because it worked in Reach, let's just shut it in. So it's that side of Halo 4 that I don't like. I think they wrote a really good story.
The technical game,
Yeah.
everything about. I mean, I don't know. I didn't think Halo 4's story really drew me in.
No.
Really, more because just didn't have that Halo feel. The game itself didn't have that
Agreed.
Halo feel
Yeah.
we were talking about earlier, where you have
That's right. Yeah.
that there's just an ambient feel that makes you um, vulnerable, and you're like, all right, cool. You know, I know that I can get through this, but this isn't gonna be easy.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't get that. I mean, and that's about everything. You know, that's about getting through the level, getting through the whole game, getting through the mission. It's just like everything is. It's like, all right, cool. You know, something's for sure bound to happen, but it feels like an adventure, not a video game. And in
Yeah.
Halo 4, it felt like a video game for sure, not an adventure. A
100%.
video game that was broken too.
I don't know. It felt a bit more together than the next effort, but that's just a preference of mine. But no, 100% agree with everything you just said. That whole thing, that the word atmosphere that makes a Halo game. Like the worst problem about that is that it's undefinable as well. Like we know playing it for as long as we have, together or individually, what that thing is, but how would you put that into a word to then tell a developer to make the game atmospheric in the same
Right,
way that the other games are atmospheric? Because every Halo game that Bungie made had that Halo feel, yet every atmosphere was completely different.
right.
Like, you
It
go from
was
Halo 1 to 2, and it doesn't feel like the same game. It doesn't play like the same game, but it is
Halo.
a Halo game. Yeah, 100%.
It's the
And
best way I could. I'm
I was
sorry.
just going to go, like, from 2 to 3 as well. It's a totally different game, but it's still a Halo game. You still feel like it's Halo. You go to 4, and
You
you
don't
sort
got that
of
stuff.
you don't recognize it anymore. It's such a weird thing.
No, and Reach and ODST
Mm.
had the most of this feeling,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I think that speaks volumes to again, the story and just the way that they were able to reproduce that atmosphere. I will give a shout out to Star Wars. The more recent Star Wars films. So like Han Solo didn't really feel like a Star Wars movie,
Right.
but um, what was that? What was that?
Was it Rogue One, you're going to say?
Rogue One. Yeah, Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. It had the
Fair
most, I
enough.
call it Star Wars magic. It had
Right.
the most of it. There were no Jedi. You
Hmm.
know, it wasn't this whole Force show.
Yeah, yeah.
That's not what I mean by Star Wars magic. It's just there's a feel about it. The way that the entirety of that planet that the pretty much the movie ended, the way that was destroyed, nobody was let off. Like all the heroes, they got the message off, but all of the heroes died.
Right.
Spoiler alert, sorry.
Too late. Snooze, you lose.
um,
It's been out a while, you know.
yeah, if you haven't seen it, if you know, you know.
Yeah, man. I think
But
we're in safe spoilerless territory
yeah,
for Rogue One.
but it's like it's so filled with that Star Wars magic. And it brings in the entire essence of what that series is about. And I think that that's what Halo Reach and Halo ODST do.
Right.
They bring the entire essence of what Halo is about, and they add their own oomph and their own flavor to it with each iteration. But it's just so good. You
Yeah.
know, it's just
Yeah, yeah.
and it brings that. And even though Halo ODST was not about Master Chief or being a Spartan at all, it had a lot of that Halo magic. And then it had the most until Halo Reach came out, which again, not about Master Chief,
Yeah.
but you know, still you're following some Spartans, and it's again, it's got that, and you know, everybody dies,
Yeah.
but it's got that the most Halo magic in it. It's just
Yeah.
got the stuff that makes Halo. It's so prevalent, excuse me, in it, and it's you know, it's just like a sight to behold when you play that game. You watch it and wonder, and it's like, wow, man, this was just great,
Yeah.
fulfilling, satisfying, awesome Halo game.
Which begs the question, because I mean the later games, the 343 games are beautifully made games to look at. Like they
Yeah,
all look
yeah.
amazing.
Halo 5 is one of the most amazing games I've seen. But
Like yeah, graphically
yeah.
it's right up there with every other AAA release, especially for the time, and the fact that it still looks amazing now. The pair of us have moved on to One X's with 4K TVs and stuff, and it still looks like an amazing, beautiful game.
Hmm.
But they just didn't get
That Halo.
something right. Yeah, there's something missing from it.
Hmm.
Like, um, yeah, I mean, like in Reach, you don't even touch a Halo in Reach. You know,
No,
you don't go anywhere
no,
near it, like
not
an
at all.
actual Halo ring.
I don't
And
even think they spoke
same,
about Halos.
no, no, because it hadn't been discovered. It was
No.
you come right out of Reach into the tail end of Reach is literally the beginning of the first game, and the credits roll on the first scene of the first game, of the Pillar of Autumn passing the camera and heading towards the Halo ring
Hmm.
as the Covenant fleets followed them, and that is the only time. Like that's not part of the game. That's the end. That's the ending.
Right.
And same with ODST. You're on Earth the entire time in ODST. Nearly none of the previous games have been on Earth primarily set. I think
Hmm.
you spend the first 3-4 missions on Halo 3 on Earth, and then you end up on the Ark, where it's
Right.
Halos and it's this, that, and the other, and it's all Forerunner tech and fighting the Covenant, all that stuff. and then it is what it is. But the like I say, those two, that I would arguably say we agree on being joint top, if not one over the other, being like the top Halo game, like the best ones. For me, I'll always have a massive soft spot for the first one because it, like it was, I've talked about it on this channel before a few times when I've said that I had a GameCube with the remake of the original Resident Evil, and all it took was 10 minutes playing on a Duke controller with like just shooting at a couple of grunts on the Halo level. And I was like,
Right.
this is it. And I took my GameCube, I swapped it for an original Xbox, and I got Halo, and I never looked back.
I love Halo. See, I look back to so many fond memories of just like trying my best to break that game, and
Man, I played it
it's
so
just like
much. I played it
it's a
on
really good game.
Legendary for fun.
Mhm,
I didn't even
mhm.
realise how good I was until a friend of mine came over and he was like, "Can we knock the difficulty down? I keep dying." I was like, "What are you fucking talking about? It's easy. You just, get your shotgun, aim it, blah blah blah." And he was like, "No
Right.
man, I can't get it." And I was like, "Oh okay." And I mean, I don't know how I did it. I can't play it like that now. Legendary is a chore now on that first game, but I've got a soft spot for that. So it's like if you were going to do top 10, I'd have to sit Halo 1 like just off to the side because it's just there, like as a bracket around the entire top 10, like the entire thing. With Halo 5 being right at the bottom, and Spartan Assault and those Spartan Strike games being right down there with Halo 5 as well. And then Halo 4 above that, and then you get to like the rest of them. But then I don't know if I could choose between ODST and Reach.
I know Reach for sure is definitely my favorite. I just loved that game.
But
Playing that
then,
campaign
like,
and into
do you
the
know what? It's a
end,
mood thing.
it just made me feel. It made me feel so much.
Hmm.
Um, and that was like back in a time, video games weren't really making me feel anything but like excited or like I'm having fun or challenged.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but that game made me like feel. I was like, holy shit, man, this shit is dark.
Yeah.
So,
It's like
um,
that moment that Kat gets taken out. That controversial
yeah.
moment. She's just halfway through a sentence and they just go like that,
Hmm.
and she's gone. Things like that you didn't get in games. They do it now for
No,
shock value
yeah.
nowadays, but like that was a first. Like a main character to just be taken out right in front of you without a single breath. It was
Warning
just
and
gone.
nothing.
Things like that, you'd like. I remember sitting on the edge of my seat for the rest of the game because it was like, well, if they're just going to kill her off like that, then what the fuck, what's coming next,
Right.
and you don't know. You just didn't know after that moment.
They're
And
gonna kill everybody.
yeah, because again, it's one of those things where you start with the end, you know exactly what's going to happen, but then it's the how, you know.
Right. You got really involved and extremely invested. And
Yeah,
again, man, nothing was making me feel that way. Nothing in video games was making me feel that way, especially at that time.
yeah,
So that's definitely my number one. I'd say number two would have to be ODST, um, just for it was a great game, and then we had a lot of memories playing that game too. Tons of
yeah, dude.
firefights.
Yeah, man. Do
And
you
then
know?
ODST
Right.
came with that Halo 3 multiplayer
Yeah, yeah,
disc,
with all
and
the map packs on
I'd
it
put
and
that at
stuff.
number
Yeah,
three. Probably Halo 5 at four. Um, Halo 4 would be my least liked Halo game, probably.
yeah.
Um,
I can't let Halo 5 be that higher up, even though it's probably the game that I've
just for
played
the
the most
multiplayer.
in recent times. It's that one
Halo
section.
5 is at four just for multiplayer. Multiplayer has been super challenging, incredibly
It
interesting,
can be a lot
fun.
of fun.
It
Yeah,
can be, it can be a lot of fun. Once you get that maneuverability, and I hope that they keep that aspect in the next iteration of Halo, but still somehow find a way to keep the
I think they're going to
bring back
scale
that
it back
engine
a little
system.
bit, but I don't think they're going to entirely get rid of the way you can maneuver around, like, the
Really good.
environments and
Uh,
things like that.
I like it. I think
I,
that they just did a good job on that part.
yeah,
Specifically, just that part of the game, the gameplay of Halo 5's multiplayer
I
is
think,
the
yeah, yeah.
uh, only good part of that game, actually. Yeah.
Well, I think that's the thing is that they had an overwhelming emphasis on trying to make a good MLG game,
Uh
like a
huh.
Major League
Uh huh.
Gaming game, and they it looks like they built all the mechanics around a good multiplayer 4v4 ranked system.
Right.
Well, not the ranked system because the
No,
ranking system's
that
a
shit
bit fucked up.
sucks.
Yeah, sort that out because we do still want to play it, people. But anyway, the, it seems like they went for that first and then they went for the campaign second. Nothing wrong with doing that.
No.
But most of the stuff that you do in the multiplayer, you either don't need to use in the campaign or you just don't use it full stop.
No.
Like I don't remember ground
I
pounding
wasn't ground pounding
anything.
shit in Legendary
Nah,
campaign.
nah, nothing.
Staying
But
back and
I
trying to stay
use it.
alive.
Yeah, I use it all the time
Multiplayer.
in multiplayer. Yeah, but nothing in it. But anyway, right. In the last 10 minutes or so that I've got, because I haven't got the time
Right.
to be doing like a full 3 hour podcast situation. I want to talk about when they went from just using equipment in 3 and ODST to
Mhm.
like all the Spartan abilities, because that was a controversial topic at the
Um,
time.
I thought it was interesting for sure, but I'm not a big fan of the Spartan abilities.
No.
Um, nah, like I think it added another dimension. I think that was one of the uh, lesser parts of Halo Reach. Uh,
Right.
so I did like. I know they had some battles where pretty much you were limited to either sprint, um, which was cool with me. Like that seemed pretty good. But
Yeah, a little
well,
sprint
I think
here
it
and
added
there.
another. It depends on the map. So like,
Yeah.
I forget the names of all of these maps really. Um,
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, dude. As much of a nerd as I am for this game, I can't remember a single name of a single
but there
map.
were really good jetpack maps that
Right, right.
made the game oh so fun. Like,
Yeah.
you would just be like, you didn't just get me there. So I just come from behind, jetpack. It was
Yeah,
just,
man.
there were a lot of different things that you could do in that game. Um, I
I think the
just
big controversy was armor lock, though, wasn't it?
armor
That was
lock.
the
Yeah, that's
yeah,
the only one
that
that
was the
really sticks
one.
in my head. It's just such a terrible, terrible power.
It was a bit of a cheap shit thing, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think I do like the idea that if you've got some fucking douche that's just following you around, like maiming you every single time. That one time you go right on your loadout, you hit armor lock, and then he comes too close to you. He tries to punch you out, but you armor lock, and then your EMP his shield off and punch him in the head. Bit of revenge.
Right.
That was where it worked for me, and I did like it. But there was people that, like in anything, just took advantage and made it like, they'd use it every time somebody opened fire on them or anybody came near them. They'd be armor locking, and I used to sort of stand back a little bit, wait a certain amount of time, chuck a grenade in,
Yep.
and then inevitably it'd run out, and hopefully I'd timed it right. But I mean, there you go. That was another enjoyable thing about armor lock, was trying to
Defeat
like
them. It's
get
just
yeah.
another. It was just another puzzle to solve
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
middle of a
that's it.
firefight. But it's I don't know. The power ups cool, interesting, but I think they really tried to go for that like Call of Duty feel with the loadouts, and
Right, yeah.
it's
Which
just
they
not
went
that
even further in 4 because they had like ordnance drops in
right.
number four's multiplayer, and that was one of the things that turned me off it, and it's why it was my least played multiplayer of all the Halo games, because they took it one step further than Reach, you know. But Reach, like,
Like
it's got the
Reach showed the
most
line
game modes.
with trying to be like other FPS at the time, and just trying to be better
Mm,
than other FPS at the time, because I think that's what um, some studios get in trouble with, is they try to be like whatever's hot, when
yeah, yeah.
ultimately you should try to be better than whatever's hot. Uh,
And I think that's the trouble they'd started to run into when it got to Reach. After so many years of doing it, they'd
mhm.
been pioneering the genre for a long time.
Right.
And then I think they had a certain amount of people that were very much of the opinion that other FPSs were starting to rule the genre more than
Mhm,
Halo did.
mhm, mhm.
So, I mean, they naturally went for an innovation as well as imitation.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. They did
you can't
a
blame them
bunch of
for that
things.
shit,
No,
you
no,
know. But it's
because
still innovated. Reach still innovated, and
exactly.
games still like other developers still copied the ideas, or like at least took inspiration from them. You know,
Hmm.
and again, that's not a bad thing. I think Reach, in particular, changed FPS games for the better,
Yeah,
in my opinion.
for sure. It shows that you can have a really strong shooter um, with a great multiplayer following, an extremely huge player base that was faithful, loyal, and very creative, because they made a lot of different creative maps that we
Oh yeah,
used. Um,
yeah, yeah,
it was good, and it also showed that on top of these things, which is what most developers of PS want, loyal following, creative multiplayer use, and a good online community. You could have a good story and campaign too, one
yeah,
that gets you, excited to play, excited to finish, where you feel immersed in the world, um, and it's satisfying to complete, and it just makes you feel, you know. I
yeah,
think
yeah.
that Reach added the best of both worlds and really showed you how uh, multi-dimensional a video game, especially a first-person shooter, can and should be.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think the only other thing that we haven't spoke about is what you're looking forward to for the remaster of it,
Halo
or at
Infinite,
least
or
no, when we'll talk about Infinite another day, I think, because if we start now, we'll never stop. But with Reach coming to the Chief Collection, what you're looking forward to with it being, it's going to obviously, it's having an upgrade of graphics and textures, and that one thing that I'm looking forward to in particular is that they're implementing the Reach style of points and then armor buying into
right,
the entirety of the Chief Collection. So like
nice,
the whole system is, they're going to tweak it and make it a little less grindy than the original
right,
game
right.
apparently, but the whole thing is now going to be in the entire Chief Collection, so you can
So I
then
think that's
go
what I'm
and
looking
buy
forward
armor
to the
for
most.
3 and everything.
I think that's what I'm looking forward to the most, because it's just something different. I've played all those games before. I've gotten a lot out of them. Um,
Yeah.
but this is one aspect that I didn't really always touch in
Mm.
Halo Reach. You know, um, a lot of other players got long in the tooth of Halo Reach. I really didn't. I kind of disappeared off the video game scene a couple of months after Reach came out, but I definitely ground on Reach a lot, a lot
Yeah, we did a
during
lot
the.
of it together.
Uh huh. Yeah, I finished a lot of that shit. Um, so one thing I didn't know is hello, Abigail, hello, John. That was cute.
What are you doing, missus? We're trying to round this up here.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Um, so that's just an entirely new aspect to the game, and I want to enjoy that as much as I can. Collect as many pieces of armor as possible, make all the coolest crap, and just
Yeah.
have a lot of fun shooting guys on Halo. It's gonna be good to see a remastered, beautiful version of the game.
Oh yeah.
And I think that the thing I'm looking forward to the most, other than those customizations and being able to buy new armor sets, uh, is going to be just spending some time with some good friends on Halo again, and completing another set of vigorous tasks that ultimately satisfying, excuse me, to
Get those achievements, man.
some Chivos.
Yeah,
It's
man.
Chivo time. I haven't fought for Chivos in a while.
Yeah, dude. It's Chibo time. You're gonna have
Yeah.
to do that. They'll probably put it in again. You know, where you have to jump off the cliff and land on the elite and assassinate him to survive. You know, that's
You know what would
that's
be
one I'll
really cool
definitely be going
is if
for.
they brought back some vidmasters. And I don't want no 100-point vidmasters. I want 0 points for these vidmasters. It's not about the points. It's about the
Well,
achievement.
yeah, and I wanna do you know, the vid masters are in the chief collection. We've got to get that on, dude. We've got to get like Bry and the misses on there, and we've got to get on that and see if we can do it. You know, the Halo 3 one,
Oh
all
my.
skulls, no one in Warthogs. The ODST one, all skulls, no one in Warthogs. You know, and
Oh
you
my.
get the unlimited, what they're called, rocket
Rocket.
launchers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, man. We've got to do that.
Yep.
Anyway, I'll catch you tonight because we're going to play Reach tonight. So that's going to be fun.
Perfect.
And yeah, I'll catch everybody else in the next video. Thanks for watching and all that shit.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
You can find me on Instagram at John's Voice, JHANSVOICE, and that's pretty much it because I don't like any other social media.
I'll try and fit that link in the description if people want to click on follow John. He's a fun guy. Alright, man. Thanks for taking the time to get up early in the morning and talk to me about shit.
It's not that early anymore. All right, later.
Yeah, see you, man.